Welcome back to Common Ground, an inside look at Suffolk County. I'm your host, Sheriff Steve Tompkins. Now, on this side of the program, we have Brother Taqwa, the Edutainer, and he's going to explain to you exactly what that name means. But I know a lot of you know Taqwa. You've seen him out there. You've seen him do his shows. You've heard his poetry. This is a multifaceted brother who really does care about community service and community, period, and it's our honor to have him here today. Sir, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Okay, so look, talk to us about edutainer. Explain to the audience what that means.
Well, basically, an edutainer is one who educates and entertains simultaneously.
Okay.
So while you're enjoying the entertainment, what I call think bombs are being planted in your head.
Okay.
And so you walk away and get epiphanies later.
Okay.
But in the present, you're just enjoying the show.
That's interesting, though, because you give folks an opportunity to think about, let it ruminate in their heads what it is that you said.
Right.
What brought you to that? What brought you to do that type of work?
Well, ironically, you know, when I was a youngster, you know, I was very shy. Trying to get words out of me would be like pulling teeth.
Right.
And so, consequently, I wrote a lot.
Okay.
And that's how I primarily expressed myself. And in
Did you grow up in Boston?
For the most part.
Okay.
I was born in Kingston, Jamaica.
Right on.
And my parents migrated here when I was 10.
Okay.
During the school busing era.
Okay.
And, you know, I completed my education here in Boston.
So I cut you off. I didn't mean to do that. So you would write a lot of things down.
Right. I wrote a lot. You know, in school, the teachers always praised my written work over my class participation.
Okay.
Because back then, you know, I was shy. Right. And eventually, I took the bulls by the horn and overcame that. Right. And now you give me a microphone, you got to chase me.
You get the microphone back, huh?
Yeah. Plus, you know, part of that's due in part to my parents. You know, my father was a preacher.
Oh, okay.
And,
right.
you know, Christmas
right.
and Easter, they would force you to get up there on
I remember those
the program
days. Oh,
and recite some Bible verses.
Yeah, brother, I remember those days with the parents, right? Okay. So that's how you got into that type of expression. Right.
It was in me all along, but it evolved and manifested later in life.
So, you know, at some point in a few moments, I'd like you to really recite one of your pieces of poetry, but talk to us about the power of the written word and how important it is for all people, but particularly youth, to put their thoughts down on paper.
Well, you know, I would say when you write, you should always also think a number of times before you speak. You know, because once you say something out of your mouth, it's out there. Yeah. You can't call it back. Yeah. And, you know, when you write, you get a chance to pour out what's inside you onto the paper and look at it.
Right.
You know, and then you can make a judgment call as to whether it's wise to articulate this right. or just ball the paper up and throw it away now right. that you've got it off your chest.
Right. You know, one of the things that, particularly in corrections in my business, if it's not written down, they say, if it's not written down, it's not real. In other words,
right.
if it's not written down, it didn't necessarily happen the way that you might remember it, you know. And oftentimes, particularly with our officers, if there's an incident, you know, they immediately write a report because while it's fresh in your mind, we want to have that documented, particularly if you have to go to court. We want to make sure you have the correct information. Now, I parallel that to kids in school and in the communities and the power of the word and writing down your thoughts and then communicating those thoughts with others, with folks like yourself that may be a little bit more mature, maybe a little bit older, because they may not fully understand the meaning of what those words or the impact that those words may have.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you should say that because a lot of my writing, a lot of my poetry chronicles parts of my life.
Yeah, your growth. Now you started, you said when you were in what, middle school, elementary school, high school, actually writing?
Ever since I could hold a pen.
Is that a fact?
Yes.
Now did you hold on to some of these? Like, do you still have some of your works from when you were a child?
I have some, I still have some of my early works.
Yeah.
You know, then I wasn't really archiving them, you know, I'm just lucky to still have a few.
Right.
So I wasn't archiving them then because I didn't realize the value of what I was doing until, you know, well into my adult years. And before too long, there'll be a book forthcoming.
Oh, that'd be nice. An
anthology.
That would be nice. That would be nice. And let me ask you this. When you would write stuff down, did you feel lighter? And what I mean by that is you were able to get all of what was up here down on paper and gave you either a sense of accomplishment or a sense of resolve. What did you feel once you got everything out of your head and onto paper and you had a chance to look at your thoughts? How did that make you feel?
Actually, both a sense of accomplishment and a sense of resolve. A sense of accomplishment in that, you know, I was able to put it together and put it down on paper. A sense of resolve in that I'm able to get it off my chest. But then, you know, the way that I think, and I think black people are pretty much this way. We're a rhythmic people, you know, and a lot of my thoughts come to me rhythmically and poetically. So sometimes when I write, it's not even like I created it. It was already formed in my head and came out that way.
So you're just the conduit for this information. It just flows through you.
Sometimes I feel like I'm channeling it.
That's exactly, and you probably are. You probably are. Just like an out there question. What's your thoughts on reincarnation, or what's your thoughts on having lived a past life or past experiences that you may not consciously remember, but either through stories from families passed down or experiences that you may have had that what comes out of you is stuff that you really didn't even know that you understood or embraced?
Well, I've had great exposure to a lot of different sages from many different spiritual schools of thoughts. And, you know, I'm familiar with a lot of those philosophies. I can't say firsthand that, you know, I've lived before, but I have experienced deja vu, you know, inexplicable familiarity with some place that I've never been.
Right. That's pretty powerful. I'll tell you what, why don't you look in that camera over there and drop a little of your science off this right here, this one here, and give the audience just a flavor of what it is that you think and write about.
Okay, well, as I said earlier on, you know, a lot of my poetry, it chronicles different periods in my life.
Right.
And there was a point in my life where I ended up in prison. And I came into contact with the prison minister from the Nation of Islam, who connected me with the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And so I read several books, including the autobiography of Malcolm X. And so I decided that I was not going to waste any of that time that I spent there. You know, I kind of looked at it anyway as somewhat poetic justice. I went to prison on a false accusation. Never got caught doing anything that I was doing.
Right. How much time did you serve?
But just 24 months over 3 to 5.
Okay.
But see, I had no excuse to be doing the things that I never got caught doing because my father was a preacher and raised me well, so that was God's merciful spanking, because if I got caught doing some of that stuff, I'd probably just be coming home yesterday. So this piece is called, My Name is Not C.O.R.I. From the ashes of self-destruction I rise, from the abyss of the prison industrial complex and take to the skies. To soar like an eagle, never again to be cut down. Never will I ride on their recidivism merry-go-round. I don't believe in serving time, so I made time serve me. Got most of the credits for my undergrad degree in the belly for free. Now, whether in minimum, medium, or maximum security, I maxed out every moment productively. Of every unjust day of my very unjust stay, that's why, by the grace of God, I'm such a powerhouse today. And their pens can't define me. Old rap sheets can't confine me. I'm the author of my story, and my name is not C.O.R.I. Now, they hate to see ex-cons rise and shine like stars. When we get home, they still want to imprison us, but this time without bars. And for those of us silly enough to beg them for a job, they'd rather see us sell more drugs, pimp more hoes, and continue to rob. But thanks to the prison minister connecting me to Farrakhan and the nation, I've never once been back to their constitutional slave plantation. Accept your own, be yourself, and you too may come to know that an ex-pimp has the skill sets of a corporate CEO. Now, DOC runs MCI, but I'll be damned. The NOI transformed it into Muhammad's course in Islam. So I traded my pimp boots for bow ties and suits, so I could be an FOI, Fruit of Islam recruit. Suited and booted and Farrakhan recruited, no more white powder up my nose like back in the day when I once tooted. Now you can play the fool, but I'm playing by God's rules, where my sisters are queens and not garden tools. The kind you wife bring in new life, oasis of peace in a desert of strife. No longer clever to pimp her, no, never. Through a love I will live forever. As we raise a dynasty through our progeny, sister, baby, let's make man in the image of we. Because it's appropriate to procreate and co-create, manifesting the great. As I rise to the heights and learn to be G-O-D, no more P-I-M-P. Their pens can't define me. Old rap sheets can never confine me. I'm the author of this story, and my name is not C.O.R.I. My name is not C.O.R.I.
Well, it's a true story, which makes it even more powerful. But for the folks that are watching and listening to your words, some may have been away for a while. Some may be on that path that will lead them to where you have been. And by simple fact of hearing your words and listening to what you said and seeing who you are now, basically how you were able to overcome those obstacles that you encountered, may give them strength.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, as the cliche goes, to whom much is given, much is required or expected.
Yep.
And now it's my endeavor to go back in as a prison minister and give what I got when I was there.
Interesting. That's interesting. And I think that you would probably be received very well, too, you know, because when you talk about street cred or credibility, you've walked in those boots. You took those steps, and you did come out on the other side, a better human being after you went through those challenges, you know. And one of the things that we like to do at the Sheriff's Department is have folks like yourself come in, people who have lived a life, so to speak, and they can talk about, you know, and not in a condescending sort of way and talk down to brothers and sisters about, you know, you did this, so this is why you're here, but how you can change your station in life if you really want to.
Yeah, it's where do we go from here?
Yeah.
You know, not how we know how we got here.
Yeah, yeah. But a lot of people don't know where to go from here. A lot of people don't know how to make those steps. Because often, a lot of times you say your father was a faithful man.
Yeah,
you know,
so,
a preacher.
So I had no excuse. A lot of the folks that I ran with, right, they were like second and third generation criminals. So they didn't have an example set for them.
Right.
I don't know how I found myself out there.
Right. And
but I knew better, so that's why I didn't get to keep any of the money.
Right.
All that ill-gotten gold
it's gone.
got burned up.
Yeah,
you know?
right. But that's what I was about to say. You did have that nurturing, that love, that care, that education, and so you took a different path. But a lot of folks didn't have what you had insofar as that nurturing love and care, you see. And so to hear your words, albeit late, maybe after they've been incarcerated, I think still has some impact, don't you?
Yes, absolutely.
You know,
and even those who didn't have the upbringing that I had, you know, there's the current prison minister now is a former gangbanger. You may know Minister Randy Muhammad, right?
Yep.
And, you know, he was a gun-toting gangbanger.
Right.
And he just heard a word in a rap that mentioned this man, Farrakhan. And he was curious and wanted to know more.
Okay.
And he went and did his research, and he's now going in and out of these prisons on a daily basis, The way I like to put it, resurrecting the dead, the mentally dead.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and so it was somebody like him. At the time, it was Rodney.
Right.
At the time, before Randy took over the role,
right.
that came and you know, fascinated me with the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, which you know, doesn't blame anybody for the condition that you're in,
right,
but tells you to accept your own and be yourself.
Exactly.
And then it proceeds to introduce you to yourself, tell you who you are, who yourself, you know, is.
Right, right.
And once you understand the greatness of yourself, like Muhammad Ali, you know, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad never put on a boxing glove in his life, but he taught Muhammad Ali how to box.
Right.
But the foundational thing that he taught Ali is that God is the greatest, and you're a direct descendant from God. Mm-hmm. So therefore, that makes you the greatest. Mm-hmm. And he believed it, and he lived it.
Right. Talk to us about the name Taqwa.
Taqwa is a name I found in the Holy Quran when I started to study Islam, and it means to fear Allah, or to fear God, fear the Most High. When I was a child coming up in church, Solomon was a character in the Bible that I really admired. Uh-huh. You know, he was the wisest man, he was a ladies' man, he was all of that. And Solomon, really his wisdom fascinated me. And a proverb from Solomon that sticks in the back of my head to this day, the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. Mm-hmm. And when I was choosing my name, mm-hmm. I wanted a name that resonated wisdom, mm-hmm. but I wouldn't be so arrogant as to take on the attribute of God, Hakeem, because that says, I am wise, I'm the wise. Yeah. So I chose Taqwa because that would put me on the path of wisdom. Taqwa means to fear God.
Well, if you're talking about putting you on the path to wisdom, then that means that you will always be searching for, walking towards understanding.
Yeah, no matter how much you get, there's always more.
Yeah.
So it's a never-ending path.
Yeah, and you don't get tired of that?
Absolutely not. Mm-hmm. It becomes more fascinating.
Does it really?
As the days go on.
Does it really? Talk about that. Talk about knowledge and seeking wisdom and seeking knowledge, and how you don't get turned away from that, and how you don't get tired of learning, and that each day or each lesson builds on the prior lessons and just makes you more knowledgeable and a lot stronger. Talk about that.
Yeah, when you think about the vastness of the universe, mm-hmm. there is you can never learn enough about it. And when we come initially into the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we learn, you know, some facts about the universe, the earth, the weight of it, the circumference, the diameter, you know, the diameter of the universe itself. Right. And this is just elementary stuff, but the human being is a microcosm of the universe. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And as the universe evolves, right. we evolve, right. and we're like many universes within ourselves. Right. And not only are we learning about the universe, that's just an object lesson, but as you learn more about yourself, there's so much that you learn about yourself every day, and manifesting your own divinity. You know, just something as simple as the power of the mind, the power of thought. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It says in the scriptures, when God determines a matter, he says to it, be, and it is. Mm-hmm. And if we're direct descendants from him, then we have that same ability.
So when it be and then it is, does that just happen, or does an individual have to make it happen?
It's not magic. How did you become the sheriff?
That was magic. No. No, it was a confluence of events that put me in a place that actually I hadn't expected. I'd never expected this to happen. And I'm not a big believer in coincidence. So I believe that I was in that space for a reason. And I think in part, it's because of my caring and love of humanity and really wanting to see people achieve if they could. I do believe that we are brothers and sisters keepers.
Right.
I do believe that if we have the ability to help, that we have to help. We have to help. And so I think that's why I was in that space when this opportunity presented itself.
The reason I asked that question is, you thought about it, did you?
Big time, long time.
Before you did it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I wasn't inclined to do it.
And that thought became a reality.
Mm-hmm. That's what you're saying.
Be,
right.
And it is.
Right, right, right. So if you can visualize something that you would like to see happen that could help improve your station in life and then work towards that eventuality, you're saying that the possibility is pretty good that it may in fact happen.
If you want it bad enough, you think about it long enough, you know, and you have to really master your thoughts. The power of thought is an incredible thing.
Yeah, it is.
Because if you think about negativity all the time, you think about how bad things are, how bad it is, you'll get more of how bad it is.
Yeah.
But if you find things to be grateful for, the more you have an attitude of gratitude, the more things will come into your life that will keep you expressing that attitude of gratitude. You get more things to be grateful for.
I like that. Have an attitude of gratitude. I like that. I like that. It's simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
not rocket science at all.
Yeah. And you know what? Actually, life probably isn't rocket science at all. It's how you apply life lessons that determines where you're going to eventually end up. You know, and so that is that's pretty significant.
So when I was in the belly of the beast, as we call it,
right,
I saw myself leaving and never returning in that capacity. But at a certain point, I saw myself going back to give back, but not to stay. I even dreamt about it.
Yeah, well, listen, and it's going to happen, or it's probably already happening, but it's going to happen. But the give back part is probably the most important part of that you just said to me. Not the fact that you were there in the belly of the beast, but the fact that you were there, you got out of that, and you're going to go back to give back. And I think that, here's my thing. I think the hallmark of any vibrant community or vibrant society is how that community cares for the most compromised in that community, whether it's people that are incarcerated, our kids, our seniors, folks from other lands. How we care for the most compromised, I think, speaks to who we are as a people. You know, would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, and if not, then I think we're lost. You know, I think we're lost if we can't really reach back and pull forward those behind us.
That's right, because even in that condition, you know, when I was there, when I was awakened, then I saw that place as a cocoon of development. I had nothing but time. So what am I going to do with all this time? At first, when I got there, you know, I didn't want to believe that I was really there.
Yeah.
So I went to sleep.
Yeah.
And my cellmate said to me one day, he said, "Man, this is not a dream, man. This is real.
Yeah.
You can't sleep it away.
Yeah.
So you got to find something to occupy your time." So then I went to hear the prison minister, and it all, you know, came together from there.
We're going to stop there because we're out of time, but you must come back. You know, you must come back. And offline, let's talk about you actually coming into our facility and imparting some of that wisdom and talking to some of the brothers and sisters that are there, because I think it would be powerful for them to hear your words and actually have some dialogue with you if you wouldn't mind doing that.
I'd love to.
Yeah, I think that would be a great thing. So look, I want to thank you for coming on today, my brother.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And we got to have you back again.
Time flies.
It does, you know, especially when you're learning, right? All right, folks, look, we're out of time. We're out of here. We'll be back again next week. Until then, you take care of yourself. We'll see you soon. Peace.